Imagine a country where people vote freely, where leaders are chosen by the people, where rights are protected by the law. And then, slowly it disappears. Not through war, not through invasion, just from the inside. Here is the question that has haunted political thinkers for 500 years. What if democracy doesn't fail because of its enemies? What if it fails because of its people? Most people believe democracy is strong, and that belief makes sense. Democracy gives people a voice. It creates balance. It limits power. History shows us that democracies are often more peaceful, more stable, more prosperous than other systems. So we feel safe inside them. We think as long as people can vote, the system is protected. As long as we have elections, we have freedom. That feeling is understandable. It is even logical. But Machiavelli, the Italian thinker who lived 500 years ago, looked at democracies and republics and saw something most people refuse to see. He saw a pattern, a cycle, and a quiet danger hiding inside the system itself. But here is the deeper issue. Machiavelli noticed that free societies carry a specific weakness, not in their laws, not in their enemies, but in human nature. He observed that when people feel too comfortable, they stop paying attention. When life is stable, people begin to believe stability is permanent. So they stop asking hard questions. They stop watching their leaders carefully. They begin to want comfort more than they want truth. And this is where the collapse begins. Not with a dictator appearing suddenly, but with citizens slowly choosing to look away. Machiavelli used a Latin concept, which is virtù, not virtue in the moral sense. Virtù means the strength, the energy, the active courage it takes to maintain a free society. He believed republics require citizens who are vigilant. And vigilance means watching carefully, staying alert, never assuming things will take care of themselves. Here is a question for you to think about. Have you ever stopped being vigilant about something important in your life and later regret it? Let's move on. Machiavelli also wrote about corruption, but not only in the legal sense. Corruption for Machiavelli means when people begin to prioritize private gain over public good, when small selfish decisions made by many people slowly destroy shared systems. Think about it. Corruption is not only what powerful people do, it can begin with ordinary choices. And then there is the idea of complacency. Complacency is a beautiful and a dangerous English word. Complacency means feeling so satisfied, so safe, that you stop trying, you stop questioning, and you stop improving. Complacency is the enemy that looks like peace. Here is another question for you. Have you ever confused comfort with progress? Machiavelli's argument is sharp. Free societies do not collapse because freedom is weak. They collapse because freedom is comfortable, and comfort changes people. Slowly, quietly, and without drama. A citizen becomes passive. A passive citizen stops holding leaders accountable. And accountable means responsible for their actions. A leader without accountability begins to take more power. More power leads to less freedom. Less freedom creates fear. Fear produces silence. And silence, Machiavelli would say, it is how republics die. Not in fire, but only in silence. Now, here is the part that may disturb you. Machiavelli did not blame tyrants for the collapse of republics. He blamed ordinary citizens. He said, and this is the uncomfortable truth, that when people are willing to trade their freedom for security and comfort, they are already choosing their own collapse. Machiavelli is warning us. A society that values safety more than truth will eventually lose both. And here is the psychological twist. We do not always recognize the moments we stop caring. We do not wake up one morning and decide to surrender our freedom. We simply become busy, distracted, and tired. We choose convenience, and convenience, repeated 1,000 times, becomes the architecture of collapse. So, democracy is not a system. Democracy is a practice. It is not something you have. It is something you do every day with attention, with courage, with willingness to engage, even when it is uncomfortable. Real democracy requires citizens who are not just free, but active. Not just informed, but engaged. Not just voting, but thinking critically about what they are voting for. A free society is not a gift that stays forever once received. It is a living thing, and living things require care and constant attention. Now, think about your own life. Where have you become complacent? Where have you chosen the comfortable answer instead of the true one? Where have you stopped being vigilant about your relationship, your work, your goals? Machiavelli's warning is not only for nations, it is for individuals. Freedom, real freedom, requires constant attention. The moment you start questioning, something else begins to fill that space. And now, think about your English. Many learners reach a comfortable level and they stop. They understand enough, they communicate enough, and slowly, quietly, they become complacent. They stop being vigilant about their mistakes. They stop engaging with difficult ideas. They choose the safe sentence over the precise one. But language, like democracy, is not a destination, it is a practice. Real fluency requires the same thing Machiavelli asked of citizens, which is to stay awake, stay curious, and stay engaged. We started with a question. What if democracy doesn't fail because of its enemies? What if it fails because of its people? Now, you understand what Machiavelli meant. The enemy is not always outside. Sometimes the enemy is comfort. Sometimes the enemy is silence. Sometimes the enemy is the version of yourself that stopped paying attention. 500 years ago, a man in Florence watched republics rise and fall, and he saw the same pattern again and again. Not armies, not weapons, just people forgetting the cost of freedom. Freedom is not free. It is paid for every day with attention. Complacency is not rest. It is slow surrender. The most dangerous moment is not when the system breaks. It is when you stop noticing. So, stay vigilant in your society, in your thinking, and in your language. Machiavelli would say, the republic you save may be the one inside yourself. Now, it's your turn to challenge the idea. Tell me, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Write your answer in the comments below. Use the comments to practice your English.